On the afternoon of October 20th, 2025, the skies over northern Paris turned a deep gray. Cumulonimbus clouds towered, forming a menacing, dark wall. In less than an hour, a tornado, extremely rare for the region, formed and struck the town of Ermont, Val-d'Oise, about 20 kilometers from central Paris. This phenomenon shocked residents and authorities, marking one of the most intense meteorological disasters ever recorded in the Île-de-France region. The tornado, estimated at EF2 intensity with winds reaching 180 kilometers per hour, struck a densely populated area and an active construction zone. Within minutes, extensive damage occurred. 3 construction cranes collapsed, one of which landed on a rehabilitation center for children with disabilities. A 23-year-old construction worker died at the scene, and 10 others were injured, 4 of whom were in critical condition. Witnesses described a tense atmosphere. The sky changed color, then there was a roar like a train. We saw objects flying, and the crane fell like a toy, said Marie Lefèvre, a teacher at a nearby elementary school. Children ran to the basement, while teachers tried to calm them amid the sound of breaking glass and the roof lifting. The center of Ermont was completely paralyzed. Power was out in 10 districts, fallen trees blocked roads, and vehicles were crushed by falling debris. Firefighters from Val-d'Oise and Paris were deployed in large numbers, with more than 80 personnel working through the night to evacuate residents, clear roads, and search for trapped victims. French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez immediately visited the scene and declared the tornado a rare and extremely intense event, which shows that climate change is bringing new risks even to areas previously considered safe. He added that early warning systems would be reevaluated, as the tornado formed so quickly that conventional radar had not been able to predict it. Meteorologically, the tornado was triggered by a very deep atmospheric depression, with a pressure reaching 980 hectopascals, that crossed southern England and moved towards northeastern France. When a warm air mass from the south met cold air from the north, it created highly unstable atmospheric conditions. This combination created a vertical vortex that then developed into a tornado. Forecasters from Meteo France stated that although tornadoes are not a common phenomenon in France, their intensity and frequency have increased in recent years. We are seeing a pattern similar to that of the American Midwest, albeit on a smaller scale. This tornado is a warning that we can no longer rely on old climate patterns, said Dr. Elodie Martin, a climatologist from Sorbonne University. Amid the chaos, the solidarity of the residents of Ermont was highlighted. Dozens of residents opened their homes to shelter the displaced. The town gymnasium was converted into an evacuation center, equipped with food, blankets, and psychological support. The local government worked with the French Red Cross to ensure basic needs were met. However, this tragedy also opened old wounds. Some residents complained about the slow pace of development of disaster-resistant infrastructure. We've been asking for a long time for power lines to be buried, not suspended. We know they're dangerous, but they've never listened, said Jean-Pierre Moreau, president of the local residents association. He added that the drainage system and public buildings in Ermont haven't been updated since the early 2000s. In an emergency meeting held 2 days after the incident, Ermont Mayor Claire Dubois promised to allocate special funds to strengthen infrastructure and speed up the early warning system. We won't let this tragedy pass without change. This is a call to action, she told the city council. The tornado also sparked a national discussion on disaster preparedness. In Parliament, some members called for the creation of a special agency to deal with tornadoes and extreme storms. They emphasized the need for public education, evacuation simulations, and the integration of advanced radar technology into the national meteorological system. Meanwhile, the victims' families continue to grieve. The funeral for the deceased construction worker was held privately, attended by family, co-workers, and city officials. He was a good boy just starting out. We never expected to lose him like this, his mother said, her voice trembling. The tornado that struck Ermont not only left physical damage but also triggered a series of long-term impacts that will shape policy direction, spatial planning, and public awareness in France for years to come. Infrastructure-wise, local and national governments are being forced to reevaluate construction standards, particularly in urban areas previously considered less prone to tornadoes. Public buildings such as schools, hospitals, and rehabilitation centers will be redesigned to address extreme wind resistance, including the use of stronger foundations and wind-resistant roofing systems. Early warning systems are a key focus of meteorological policy reforms. The Ermont tornado demonstrated that conventional radar technology is insufficient to detect tornado formation in real time. Therefore, Météo France, in collaboration with the Ministry of the Interior, has begun developing a high-resolution Doppler radar system and a broader atmospheric sensor network, with a target for full implementation by 2028. Furthermore, public education on evacuation procedures and early signs of tornadoes will be incorporated into school curricula and national campaigns. Socially, the trauma experienced by Ermont residents has created a need for long-term psychological support. The city government is partnering with mental health organizations to provide free counseling services for the next 2 years, particularly for children who experienced the event directly. Local communities are also starting to form solidarity networks and citizen-based emergency response training, which are expected to strengthen social resilience against future disasters. Economically, the tornado triggered a surge in insurance claims and a review of disaster insurance policies. Insurance companies began including special clauses for extreme winds in the Île-de-France region, which was not previously considered high risk. The central government allocated €15 million in stimulus funds for reconstruction, but also stipulated that building projects must meet the latest climate adaptation standards. This encouraged the construction and architecture sectors to innovate in disaster-resistant building design. At the national policy level, the Ermont tornado catalyzed the creation of the National Agency for Climate Adaptation and Disaster Resilience, tasked with integrating climate data, spatial planning, and development policies. This agency will work across ministries and have the authority to review major infrastructure projects from a climate risk perspective. Furthermore, Parliament has begun deliberating on a bill on climate risk zoning, which would prohibit development in areas with potential windstorms based on historical data and climate projections. The environmental impact was also a concern. The tornado damaged hundreds of trees and disrupted the urban ecosystem. The city government of Ermont launched a reforestation and restoration program for the city's parks, with an approach that took into account wind and flood resilience. The tree species selected would have deeper roots and flexible trunk structures, reducing the risk of future collapse. In the academic and scientific realm, the tornado spurred increased research into atmospheric dynamics in Western Europe. The Sorbonne University and several meteorological research institutions began developing an artificial intelligence-based tornado prediction model, which was expected to provide warnings minutes before the formation of a tornado. Data from the Ermont incident served as a key case study in the development of such algorithms. Culturally, the tornado left a mark on the collective consciousness of French society. Documentaries, works of art, and literature began to address the theme of natural disasters and community resilience. In Ermont itself, a memorial monument will be erected on the site of the destroyed rehabilitation center for disabled children, as a symbol of respect and a reminder of the importance of preparedness. In the long term, the Ermont tornado marked a turning point in how France views climate risk. It shifted the paradigm from reactive to proactive, from mitigation to prevention, and from reliance on technology to community empowerment. This disaster taught us that climate adaptation is not an option but a necessity, and that resilience is not just about concrete and steel, but also about solidarity, knowledge, and the courage to change.